home, deliver the cake. What was going to register in the girl's mind was that men, including my dad, should not be trusted.
In fact, she said, welcome to the Family Talk Show. My name is Eddie Okila on this very wonderful day of the African weather, of the African climate, of the African, wind and oxygen. In Africa, we don't run out of oxygen. It's not there. I mean, the guys in Europe are running out of oxygen, but in Africa, we have trees. We interact with the environment. So in our families, we sit under trees, right? And in our villages, we sit under trees and we enjoy. That's how we be, that's how our life is. But you know what? Welcome to the Family Talk Show. My name is Eddie Okila, and I will be joined by a friend of mine, Sylvain, as well as Pastor Joshua Martin Mugabe, who is a resident panelist on the Family Talk Show. Mr. Hassan Sekajolo is recovering from his injury. That is why you have not been able to see Hassan on the show for a very long time. But we're looking forward to receiving Hassan back on the show in the next couple of days. Hey, Sylvain, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Eddie, and glad to be here.
Yes, and people must be wondering, why are we not seeing Pastor Joshua Martin Mugabe? He went to send people to the Lord, and as a pastor, he was praying for a family that had lost somebody, and he was helping them send their loved ones. And so we hope Pastor will be joining us online in just a few. And if not, we'll definitely be seeing Pastor next week. But hey, Sylvain is here and I'm here, and today we're going to be discussing, still on the series of lessons learned from our fathers. And that discussion is key, and that discussion is very important for us right now. We are talking about lessons now learned, Sylvain, from the coronavirus situation. Children are back home. The schools closed down. Last week on Sunday, the President of the Republic of Uganda, on the advice of the technical people handling coronavirus, advised the President to call for a lockdown, a 42-day lockdown, and schools were closed down and they were sent back home. Now, in this topic that we're having right now, which is lesson learned from our fathers, all the kids are back home again for the next 42 days. People are being stressed. What is your take? And what lessons do you think children are going to be learning from their fathers?
Very, very interesting. First of all, parents should embrace the moment.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, these children are home. But that also means that parents should be careful with how they have lived with their children in the past, while they have been regularly at school and being home in holidays. Now, they are home on forced holidays. There's something running in the minds of these young ones. There's also something running in the minds of the parents, because you plan. You planned. 1 week from now, my children are going to be at school, and this is what I'm going to be doing, and this is how I'm going to be looking after them, this is how I'm going to be visiting them. This time you're not going to be visiting them. They're going to be home. Number two.
No, you are visiting them from home.
You're with them home. It's
Yeah,
not.
you
It's
visit
not.
them every morning when you go to their bedroom.
You're basically with them home all the time.
Yes.
Two, if you're working, remember the condition under which they have come home is COVID. Their SOPs need to be observed. And if you have not been keen at instructing and guiding, today Watoto Church was talking about guiding and guarding your family.
Yeah.
So if you have not been keen about that, it's time to practice. And you've got to be patient that your children understand that. The third one is modeling. Because, God doesn't do these things haphazardly. For us, we are challenged, we are shocked. They are new things. But to God, they are not really new. He knew that at such a time like this would happen.
Yeah.
And so there are very many things to learn from it. But here's what I have mainly for the parents.
Yeah.
Embrace the moment, interact with your child, correct the number of things that didn't go right, where you felt you didn't have enough time. When you go to work, if you are an office person, when you come back home, engage your children. But because of SOPs also, if there is a possibility of you not going to office, so that you do not get the disease and the virus and then come and infect your own, you choose to stay home, the dynamics are going to change. There's going to be that room which is now going to be like an office,
Yeah.
or a portion of the sitting room which is going to be your office desk. There are going to be many things. You're all going to be learning, by the way, from each other, because children are used probably to you as a parent. When they wake up, they are jumping up and about in the seats. But now, they're going to jump up and about when you're on a Zoom call. You've got to find means of letting them know. But also then, mother or father, lots of things to learn. Here's my take. Listen to your children as much as possible. Utilize this moment to be with them, to listen to them. And listen to all that you would want to call a nonsense as a parent. Because the reason you call it nonsense certainly is because you're older.
Yeah.
But to a child at that very moment, it matters.
Yeah.
It matters. And to the child, when you listen to his nonsense, he feels you're for him.
Yeah.
The problem, I think the biggest mistake we make, because we know it is nonsense, we quickly tell the child that's nonsense. And we do not explain, we don't even give the definition of nonsense, we just say nonsense. And the child grows thinking, when I get to 30 to 40, I'll be describing such things.
Everything they told me is nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At this stage, you'll be saying nonsense. At this stage, you'll be saying stupid. At this stage, you'll be saying, no. It's time to get in contact with your family as much as possible. My prayer is that parents listen a lot more than they really talk.
Okay. Well, we are on the Family Talk Show. Eddie Okela, Sylvain Gumisiriza, and of course, Pastor Joshua Mugabe, who is going to be joining us in a few. But we've started a conversation on the lessons learned from our fathers. Last week, we were continuing with a discussion on if your father wasn't there in your life, or if you learned from a later stage that the person you called daddy for a long time was not your father, how do you deal with the emotion coping up? And just while we're still on that, the lockdown came. Imagine you found yourself in such a situation, you yourself still dealing with the situation of your father. And boom, we're in the lockdown, and in the lockdown situation, your children are with you, and you are emotionally completely detached from your children and your family because you're trying to sort out your identity. But there is your son sitting with you now asking you, Daddy, what is coronavirus? What is lockdown? In the first one, they didn't understand for 1 year.
That's true.
And they were very stressed. And I feel sorry because children were very, very stressed. They remained in the lockdown for a very long time. Just when they'd gone back to school, no sooner had they reported than the cases of COVID-19 situation started to rise. And they are back home. Now, children are going with a lot of stress. These people are going to be fathers and mothers tomorrow. What lessons are they learning from their parents right now? If you're a parent and you're at home, we want you to share with us your experience with your children in the first 1 week that they are home. And I want to share with you, mine first of all, Sylvain. So my friend's son is very close to me. So he sent me a message and says, Uncle Eddie, I'm waiting for the president's speech. They broke off from school, from their midterms, sort of like one holiday to come home, and then they told him, hey, you're not going back. So he said he wants to learn boxing, and he's very serious about it. So he predicted everything. He told me, when can we start? Can you tell talk to the coach and find the coach? We start doing this. And while I was still finding the coach for him, getting ready for us to start doing boxing and planning all this stuff, the next thing I know, the president announced that there's going to be a 42-day lockdown. He's dumbfounded. He doesn't know what to do. He's studying, but he just doesn't feel like an online school is better than what they were doing at school. That's one child. My other nephew called me, my sister's son called me, I think he must have stolen the phone, his mother's phone, to call me. Because he sent me a message and said, don't tell mommy and daddy I have called using this phone. And said, so uncle, I need you to get me a tablet and some old computer from your office. I said, what do you want to do with the computer? You're too young. What do you want to do? He says, I don't think like for us we're ever going to study again. Because we've just gone back to school. I was they were teaching us maths. I couldn't do anything. I was confused. I don't know anything. Then the next thing, when I was trying to cope up, they've told us to go back home. So I said, okay, I'm going to look for a tablet for you to do what you're supposed to do. He's asking for an old computer. That's wisdom. Then he goes on to tell me, you see, me and my friend, we want to start learning computers ourselves. Because his dad is always on the computer and does not allow them to touch the computer. He says, the other day my friend went and touched his dad's computer. He was beaten. The father beat him so bad and told him that he wants to spoil things. Do you know what I'm dealing with? Do you know the situation we're in right now, that you want to touch my computer? If you spoil this computer, do you know what I'm going to do? You foolish son. So the boy comes and tells his friend, who is my nephew.
Yeah.
And now they have hatched a plan that, so he comes and says, my uncle is in Kampala, he has a TV, so I want to ask him, and he gives us a very old computer and we start from there. I felt touched. I'm really going to send them a computer. But the lesson I have learned from there myself is that sometimes when we parents are dealing with something, we forget that kids are at another level of dealing with it. And they, word for word, action for action, step for step, whatever you do, they are following. Sylvain, how do we deal with these lessons these children are picking right now?
The last time I was here, I remember telling you about the child's hard disk.
Yeah.
And telling you how far it goes in my life, like having experience with my family.
Yeah.
Is every child. It is every child. So parents need to be very careful with what they say, how they say it, what context they actually say it. That child, first of all, is not young, and that child is is proactive to think, now that there is a possibility I may not go back to school, I need to learn computer. The one who is talking about boxing is also proactive. But there's a possibility that they're going to find, and these are the mistakes we make so much, especially because they were made by our parents. And remember I said that we need to forgive our parents because somehow nobody has got a PhD in parenting. Nobody. At any one time you're learning as your children are growing. It's only that we get to a point and we begin thinking we know it all because these are young ones. And we forget that if we reflected back, possibly this is how we would have been behaving. But let's go to this young boy who is thinking about a computer, and the young boy who is thinking about the boxing. You notice that, especially the one who was told, the one who was talking about the friend who was beaten and abused. Yeah. When you tell your child that you're a fool, when you tell your child that you're stupid, it registers. And let me tell you how you drop his self-esteem. If I find that child the other side and is doing something not fine and I call him a fool, it gets stamped in his mind that daddy calls me a fool, this guy calls me a fool, therefore I am a fool. So you've killed his self-esteem. You may never get an opportunity to bring it back. Number two, you've denied him an opportunity to be free, to explore. This is how we kill the purposes for our children. He could be an engineer in how God purposed him to be. And that's why he's even going to computers. I can't remember how many times I was caned because of opening every radio that was brought home. But as far as I remember, up to today, I think it's what makes me keep curious in the things I do. I'm in the IT field. And I like, dealing with screws. Or even identifying where I can find the problem and solve it. So, in ways we speak to our children, sometimes we deny them the opportunities, or we kill the opportunities when they are still young. We need to be very watchful. Yes, the child did wrong. He went to the computer without his permission. And it is possible he can actually spoil it. It is a work computer. It is very important. It is a device that helps him bring in income, that looks after the family. That's very fine. But how do you approach that? That is something you need to agree upon with your child. The beauty is that children are very obedient. Very, very obedient. The problem is we want to fix them. We don't want to help them understand. We want to fix them. And you cannot fix a human being. You can fix a machine, you can fix a metal, but human beings are human beings. At any one time, the mind is engaged. My prayer, my request to the parent is show to the child what has gone wrong. Explain to him the dangers upon that and appreciate his interest in wanting to learn computer. Maybe promise him at some point when he's going to learn, or explain it to him. Sometimes we think we should not be explaining to our children our failures, which is also very dangerous.
Yeah.
But it's also possible to say, wait, my son, this is a company computer and I use it to make money that I look after the family. And I don't have money yet. It is okay to tell your child, I am sorry, I don't have money yet to buy you a computer. I can guarantee you, your child will understand that daddy would wish to buy me a computer, but he doesn't have money yet. And at that point, actually, he will choose to pray that at one point you get money to buy him a computer. He will even protect that device, especially when he understands its role in as far as your responsibility as a parent when you're looking after them.
Yeah.
So let's not make mistakes to say, you're stupid, you're foolish, do you know what I'm going through? Of course he doesn't know, you have not told him. And don't claim he's too young. It's okay to tell the child, son, you know what, hold on a bit. Can we talk a bit later? He will respect that. Okay. The mistake we make is to think the children should read our minds as parents and go away. But at that point, what we are doing, we are behaving like animals, or wild animals in this case. Next time he comes, he wants to read you and he looks at you and says, daddy's state. It gets to the point now when he's supposed to be disclosing some secrets to you and you could be of help, but he chooses not to because you've never given him an environment that you can even listen to him. So let's be keen about that.
Wow. Wow, you've heard it there. This is the Family Talk Show coming from Sylvain Gumisiriza saying, please listen to your children. We're talking about lessons learned from our children, or lessons being learned by our children from us right now as parents in this lockdown. What lessons are children picking from us right now? Now that they're in a lockdown, what situation are they in at the moment, and what lessons are they picking from us, and how are they going to use it in future? How will you behave before your children in the lockdown is key. This is a Family Talk Show where we discuss everything about family and how we can help our families to be better, and how we can help you share ideas with you, or you can share idea with us on how we can get our families better. We're going to go for a break, and when we come back, the Family Talk Show will continue after the break. At the moment are struggling to understand the older generation because times have changed. Technology has come in.
They have moved on.
Yes.
We're the ones sitting back and wondering, what is my child on to? TikTok has surpassed WhatsApp. The other one I call, I never call it Facebook, it's Bookface. Why are you on Bookface? Dad, it's Facebook.
Yes.
Me, I keep saying, I have a foot amongst the millennials.
Yeah.
And I understand the traditionalists.
Okay.
There's a song in the 60s, by the way, and in the 90s, 70s, where they're like, parents don't understand. Yes. Remember Prince?
Yes.
Prince.
The Art Center's role is to take part in all of those activities. So we are presenting professional work from artists from all over the world.
You look at the modern times where you look at young people who are trying to copy and trying to be like other people. So that missing link really keeps me going as an artist, and it makes me create.
This is the Family Talk Show. Welcome back. Edio Killer and Sylvain Gumisiriza is on the show. That name is like a French name. It disturbs them. the time. Welcome back to the program, Sylvain.
Thank you.
I want to start by reading some of the comments coming from our viewers out there, and I want to start from one. Tugume Frank says, glad to be on the Family Talk Show. And Frank, thank you very much for being part of the Family Talk Show, family growing bigger and better. And I want to encourage everyone out there to share this link far and wide. Please post this link, share it with your friends, with your family. You never know who you are helping along the way on this path of getting our journey together. The Family Talk Show exists to teach us a thing or two about our family, and also to allow us a platform for us to discuss things that happen in our families and how our families are faring and what we need to do going forward. My name is Eddie Okela, and of course, Asan Sekajolo is a resident panelist who is still injured but will be back on the show sooner than later. Pastor Joshua Mugabe has been, comforting a family. He's on his way. He's likely to join us on the show and participate in this topic. The topic of discussion on the Family Talk Show today is, what lessons are children learning from their parents right now? They are back home, 1 week into the lockdown. There is a possibility that the lockdown is likely going to be stretched. Last year we started a lockdown with 14 days. 14 days went to 21 days, 21 days went to 40 days. Before we know it, the whole year was gone. And I think that children are anticipating that these adults are always telling us things like this. There's chances that we are going to stay home. And some children are already smart, asking for other solutions. What lessons do you think your child is learning if you're a father? If you're a mother, what lesson do you think your daughter is learning or your son is learning? Can you share with us? What have you seen that they are picking from you? Are they good lessons or they are bad lessons? Sylvain, welcome back to the show. I want to take you to question number 2. Children are home and they are picking lessons. I told you about my nephew.
Yes.
And I'm going to share with you about my friend's children. My friend's daughter last week was her birthday. Peter Kawujo, Hilary Kawujo is a friend of mine, and his daughter is a very good friend of mine. She turned just 9. You're going to be wondering, okay, so the girl is turning 11 and she's your very good friend. How is that possible? You who is 40, 30 something and she's 11. Yes, I like to connect with children. So I was having a conversation with Victoria, and she said, we are home, I'm preparing. Uncle Eddie, I want to celebrate my birthday. And I want you and auntie to come and what? So we are talking and sharing. And she says, Uncle Eddie, I feel sad that my friends are not going to enjoy my birthday. So I promised to get the cake. And come Wednesday, Victoria started to call us. Mr. Kawujo had to jump off from his desk at 12 o'clock to run to deliver the cake at home. It was very important to Victoria that anything else that was going on at that moment. You can go back, Daddy, and work, but deliver my cake home so I can have my
cake.
So should Peter not deliver the cake home, or the father not deliver the cake home, she's going to be not trusting the father's words, because the cake was supposed to be delivered the day before and we had prepared it, but the father was up in the village. So the sacrifice of Mr. Kawujo coming from his village back to Kampala, driving to town to pick this cake to take home, was a huge lesson for me. And the daughter called me with the mother to give me the message. It says, hey guys, wait, I'm still busy because I don't know what they're going to say, but I'm going to get back to them. So what I've realized from that is that children are looking for whatever opportunity they have to take away their worry. And the adults needs to be able to give them that, because if they doubt your words at this point in time, chances are that they're going to pick these lessons and go with it forever in life. The children that grew up through the wartime situation, every time you talk about change management, they don't want any new change to come, because what is in their mind is that there was war when they were growing up, which we didn't see. For us in our generation, is saying, come on man, we need to move from change point A to point B. For them, they don't see the reason, because the lessons they've learned from that war situation was not managed very well, and nobody told them how they're going to get out of it. So coming back to you on this situation of coronavirus, where kids are at home or children at home, what lessons do you think children are picking from their parents?
Very good.
And how can we understand these lessons, and what should we do about them?
Very, very good question. And I think For me, that's why I began by saying, let the parents be cautious about what they are doing, how they are doing it, where they are doing it from, and how they are speaking to each other. If you're a single parent, you still have to also be cautious on how you're handling your phone calls. It could be work, it could be relationship, it could be anything. And we very well know that children do not stop picking. It's so unfortunate that they can't decide what to drop immediately after they have picked. Sometimes they pick, they go with, and along the way they realize, wait a minute, this was not helpful, and now they drop. But as they are dropping, they still remember whom did they pick it from. And at that point, you're not their friend. You're not the point of reference for support. You're not the point of reference for counseling. So parents need to be very careful. And I remember while young, one of the things that I grew up and I decided not to participate in, I remember telling you this, is to fight. Because I saw fights of the aged. I learned how to abuse, to send those aggressive words when I was so young. But thank God for my mom. She would put me aside and she says, you know what? This is not you. This is not you. I would go to the hills to look after the cows. And the common thing is to shout over our voices, to abuse each other across hills. And I get back home, my mom puts me down and canes me thoroughly. And I'm saying, but mommy, what's the problem here? She says, wait. At that point, you're a herdsman. That's not what herdsmen need to be doing. I'm looking at you as my son. And so at some point, we agreed with mom, no fights. And I'm so grateful that she captured me at that early stage. I don't know whether I would be here. Because who knows when you're fighting, what happens? Yes. You can be harmed instead of you harming. So I'm using that example because you grow up to grasp whatever is around there because your mind is so open to anything. Filtering out what is most important comes along. And the beauty is that as you grow up, you realize, well, this person was well-intentioned. This person had a problem. This one caused me this. This one I need to unlearn. But then why do we need to put our children in that state at a certain age to begin unlearning a number of things? Yet, we can utilize this moment to give what to learn that they would really not drop. What does that mean? Yes, I'm not married, but that doesn't stop me from talking about this. Husband, be careful how you're speaking to your wife before your children.
That's lesson number one.
That's lesson number one.
The lessons they're learning is how you are speaking
to your wife,
to their mother.
To their mother.
Yes, or to their father.
It matters a lot. It matters. If you're aggressive to your wife and the boys are watching, they just know this is what a man does at such an age.
Or in such a time when we're in the lockdown, when they said we're in the lockdown.
Yes.
So for them, that's what they pick.
Yes,
yeah.
That's what it is. If you're a mother who looks at you, a wife who looks at your husband with this kind of eye that has a signal, your daughter is saying, wait, I mean, this is exactly what mothers do. So be watchful what you're demonstrating. If you're so reactionary, even if you are in the bedroom and they can hear the voice, they will know that whenever you get to the room with your husband or with your wife, you can say whatever you want to say, you can shout. I can guarantee you by the way children can get to the point of coming to the doorway and listening properly. And they can tell, even when you come out of that room, that this conversation was calm, this conversation was hostile. So be keen about what you say before your children. Number two, how you deal, say how you engage them within the activities. You talked about the young girl who was looking for her cake,
yes.
and waiting for the parent.
Yeah.
if the father had not sacrificed that time to get off his desk, drive home, deliver the cake, what was going to register in the girl's mind was that men, including my dad, should not be trusted.
In fact, she said, us guys are always talking, so she needed to know whether it is the father who is the problem or I'm the one who is the problem, who is not making the decision to come and
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
And that puts this young girl in a very compromising situation, very tricky situation growing up. She had better not trust any other man apart from her father. But if she does not trust men because of her father, that is very, very difficult to uproot at some point. And leave alone relationships going forward, to say, having families. Even in work situations, anything small that happens between her and a colleague and is a man, she say, like my dad, this is how men behave. We tend to want to take it so much about relationships. Yes, it is important, but even in regular lifestyles, it is extremely, extremely important. So thank God for your friend. He took the responsibility, left whatever he was doing, and delivered the cake. It must have registered. 2, if he has a son, he must have seen that, oh, this is very important for you to do. When you say, then do, as a man. I have friends, lady friends, who, when we're having conversation, they'll tell you they don't trust men. And some of them have these reasons because they saw it home. Incidentally, it's not because of the experience they have had as maybe relating with men who have not been faithful to them. No, right from home. Say, I have seen how my dad has been. I don't think men are. And whose responsibility now is that? It's the mother's responsibility to explain to her daughter the situation, but also pray with her, because they end up making extreme decisions, where you find she will choose to either have a child without a father, because after all, living with men is that tiresome, or they end up saying, let me have fun, I'm not interested at all in having a family. But remember, they also have friends, and so they connect with our friends whom we are either relating with or we are married to. In case of a situation that is not so clear between you and your wife, and she's speaking to somebody who is not married, somebody who has got that experience, somehow we don't even know how to give guidance, somehow we don't even know how to listen to people who are going through tough times. We usually want to fix situations, and what normally comes out is, that's why I didn't get married.
Wow.
So be watchful. Be watchful. So
Yes.
in my view,
Yes.
father, mother, be careful when you're communicating. It doesn't mean that the Uganda calls bunkenke. No. But be keen, be intentional in these conversations. And if they have not been going really well, it is time to learn. You have 38 or 37 days remaining to go, at least when your children are there. Readjust. And men, don't be fixed. Don't say, this is me. The thing is that no man is an island. The beauty is that and even an island lives in the middle of water. So what surrounds you is going to determine how you're going to behave. So for men, let's not be this rigid. This is how I do things. This is how things must be. Remember that whatever you do in the public is going to come out, rather whatever you do in the private is going to come out in the public.
Yeah.
Every other behavior you're expressing now is going to result into either having a child that embraces you as a father, celebrates you, because you raised him up well. You make mistakes now. At some point he's struggling with his families, you'll be saying, my dad was like that, or I'm also really struggling, because after all, I did not have a very good foundation.
Yeah.
It is the responsibility of every one of us. I have to keep reminding us that the children are watching, and you're not going to stop them that. Be grateful. That is a human sense. That's biological. If they were not watching and not listening, you would be saying, I gave birth to a deaf or a blind child. Thank God your child is not blind, is not deaf, and has got senses. Be careful what you're feeding him, what you're feeding her.
Wow, thank you so much, Sylvain, for that very interesting lesson we have picked from you. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, Pastor Joshua Martin Mugabe is online and is going to be joining us to give us his points, sharing with us lessons children are picking from parents right now that is going to determine who they will be in life, how they are going to behave in life when they grow up in these 42 days of lockdown in Uganda specifically, but also world over. Children have spent a lot more time home and in the lockdown than parents, and they have seen the actions of parents when they are agitated. What they say, like Sylvain says, be very careful. You might be arguing in the bedroom, slapping your wife or slapping your husband and saying all sort of things. The children are on the door. What is going on with daddy and mommy? And so you walk out of that place thinking that you are so smart, they don't know what is going on. They have learned so much from you in that context, and they will do exactly the same thing you are doing when they become adults. Stay right there, I'll be right back after the break. This is the Family Talk Show. Edio Killer, Sylvain Gumisiriza are in the studio. Social distancing at the highest point of life. No coronavirus. All right, tell Edgar to organize Pastor, but he needs people at the moment are struggling to understand the older generation because times have changed. Technology has come in.
They've moved on.
Yes.
We're the ones sitting back and wondering, what is my child on to? TikTok has surpassed WhatsApp. The other one I call, I never call it Facebook, it's Bookface. Why are you on Bookface? Dad, it's Facebook.
Yes.
Me, I keep saying, I have a foot amongst the millennials.
Yeah.
And I understand the traditionalists.
Okay.
There's a song in the 60s, by the way, and in the 90s, 70s, where they're like, parents don't understand.
Yes.
Remember Prince?
Yes. Welcome back from that break. My name is Eddie Okela, and in the studio is Sylvain Gumisiriza. Of course, joining us from the comfort of his car or the sitting room is Pastor Joshua Martin Mugabe, and this is the Family Talk Show. Today on the Family Talk Show, we're discussing the topic of lessons learned from fathers, but particularly on this show, we're talking about lessons being learned by children, or lessons being picked by children in these 42 days of lockdown, or in this coronavirus situation all across the world. But particularly in Uganda, we are in the lockdown, 42 days of lockdown announced by the President of the Republic of Uganda on the advice of the technical people, handling coronavirus situation in the country. Of course, coronavirus is real. We don't know so much about it, but we know it's real. We know people are dying. We don't know what extent is happening. So it's okay for you to protect yourself and be wise. And the Bible says, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. If you don't have knowledge, you will perish. If you don't seek knowledge, you will perish. So the knowledge we're giving here on the Family Talk Show is how to protect your children from perishing when the coronavirus situation is over. Ladies and gentlemen, all across the world, welcome to the show. Share it far and wide. Family Talk Show is here for you to discuss the problem of your family. And of course, share with us, what lessons do you think your children are picking from the lockdown?
Very interesting. But the children are very, very creative. And you notice that if we choose to listen to them, there are lots of things we can learn. Because you bear me witness, the days of your dad were not your days. And the days of your children are not going to be your days. The only challenge is when we think we are elders and we think life is conventional. It's always going to be from step A to step B to step C. And this is how we're supposed to be behaving. But if we choose to be keen, we can learn from our children. Number one, children are good at board games. For those of you at home, you give him a board game, give him the menu or the kind of instructions. Before you know it, he's playing. And I think this is the moment when parents need to interact with children in terms of, and there's a lot that is shared when you're playing games with your children. Could be Scrabble, could be chess, could be many games, many board games, but not only board games. For those ones who have got compounds, it's a time for them to probably buy badminton and play together. There's something interesting about this young boy, this young girl, when he or she finds that he has got the capacity to win a big person. I remember growing up, I used to play cards with my dad. And when I don't know whether he would deliberately allow me to win him or I would actually win him. But in moments I would win, I would be very excited. I was able to win, and I would sometimes remind him of that. Then it would create this environment where he can say, hey, wait a minute, can we? And I find it so easy because I've been near him and we played cards together, so I can easily really listen to him. By the way, my situation with him changed a little bit later, but in early childhood, it was fun. So have fun with your children. And when they also want to see how you behave when you lose a game. Do you get annoyed? When and in its sense, it sounds as though it's to the very serious parents sounds so stupid, but let me tell you, you have no idea how much you're cementing or you're strengthening that bond between you and your child. So be free to play with them. Allow them to ask you questions. Some of these questions are going to be weird questions. And don't claim you know it all. As in, surely, be humble enough to say, son, that one, I'm going to find out. I'm going to find out. Because they know you're a human being. There's no way you're going to claim you're superhuman. Especially the 9, 8, 10, 12. are very, very, very sensitive. For them, when you lie, they can know that Dad has lied to me, but I don't have to tell him he has lied to me. But do you know what it means when a child keeps quiet about something he knows that you've not told him the truth? That is, you've lost his respect, and you will never know that you've lost his respect. So allow your children to ask you questions, and be free to let them know that some of these things you do not know. Research together on things which are researchable, or ask somebody together. The child will get to know, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I appreciate my dad understands that there are things he also doesn't know. So don't be the know-it. Don't be the know-it-all. And like we had said at the beginning, listen to them. Be attentive to them. Sometimes they just want to tell you their stories, and they don't want you to make a comment. Daddy, you know, this and this and this and this happened. This is what I did. This is what my friend did. Just listen in. If he does not say, what should I have done? Leave him. But the thing is, give him the courage to continue telling you the story, because he feels you need to know the story. If you claim you don't have time to listen to that story, and you prepare another time, and that time doesn't come, you prepare another time, that time doesn't come, you might never find any more time
with your son.
With your son.
Or with your daughter. And
growing up, at some point when you now think you have time, you want to listen to your son, he also doesn't have time
for you.
So be careful. It is what you build right now that brings about the responsibility of this young boy, this young girl, at some point in your old age, when he feels, I need to go home and listen to my dad, I need to go home and listen to my mom, because he or she listened to me then.
Okay. The pastor is saying that 3 lessons that we need to teach our children, or we need to learn from our children. 1, life calls for adjustments. And number 2, begins with, life begins with what you have. Begin with what you have with your children. And number 3, your results will open the door for more to happen. 3 lessons that we have to teach our children in a lockdown, and 3 lessons that we as adults need to pick from there on this family talk show program that we're discussing today. Number 1, life calls for adjustments. Many of us are stressed because we have gone into the lockdown. The situation, embera, as we call it in Uganda, is not okay. All right? And if that embera is not okay, situation is not okay, life is not okay, don't push it to the children. Adjust so that you can be with your children, but don't say, you guys are pushing me, you don't know what I'm going through to put food on the table for you, you are never going to help me. I know some parents who will assure their children who are just 5 years old as if they wrote a letter to say, let me be born and you become my father and my mother. No, they have no idea what happened. So please, life calls for adjustment. Number 2, Pastor Joshua Martin Mugabe is saying, please begin with what you have. Parents, start with what you have and build on from there. And saying your children may not understand you at some point, but if you open up the doors, if you begin with what you have, it will open up the results of your actions to your children, will open up the door for your children to be part of that. Number 3, he said, lessons from our children. Lessons from our children. Number 1, be passionate about today. Don't show them that because we're in a coronavirus situation, Sylvain, things are bad. Some parents says, things are bad, we can't drink milk, we can't find biscuits, we can't even do anything, we can't even walk to the grass paspalam. Children don't want to hear that. He's saying that lessons to learn from children today, they still play, even when they're stressed. They still find time to enjoy their life. Sometimes they even forget about we're in a corona situation. For you, slapping them says, you're foolish, you don't understand that you're going to get coronavirus. But for them, they don't understand that. So that's a lesson from children, that when we're mentally becoming disturbed, when we're mentally stressed, We need to learn that from our children. So lesson from our children: 1, be passionate about today. Number 2, take more risk instead of being fearful. That is coming from Pastor Joshua Martin Mugabe. Parents, take more risk. Learn from your children and take more risk. They say, wash your hand here, go this, go this. They will go and do the exact opposite. And you will cane them, tomorrow they'll do the same opposite. But in the process, they learn a lot of things. So please, don't be so fearful, because now when you become so fearful, you are instilling a different thing altogether to your children. You are making them get messed up. Number 3 says, take more. Number 3 on that line, it says, lessons from our children. It says, they prefer solutions to analysis. Don't give them too many analysis of whatever is going on. You analyze everything they are doing. You say everything they're doing. Sylvain,
unless they ask you.
Yes.
Unless they ask you.
Yes. But some parents are always analyzing things. Children are saying, Daddy, I need solution. If there's a problem like this, we are not going to school. So what is our solution to not going to school? What can we do? Can we sit down? Can we do a lesson at home? Some parents don't get. So please, parents, on the Family Talk Show, we're saying, please, children prefer solution to analysis. And
let's look at this one as a normal situation, and adjust, like he mentioned, because the beauty is, the Bible says there's time for everything.
Yeah.
This is time for the partial lockdown. There's going to be time for the release of the lockdown.
Yeah.
We had it the other time. We didn't know how long it was going to take. At some point, it came through. Children went to school, but so sorry, they didn't stay long. Now they are back. But it's also important to know that it's also going to end. So let's not be on tension. Oh my God, oh my God. You know, 75% of our sickness is psychological.
Absolutely, in this coronavirus situation.
So let's not be on tension. Let's know that it's going to end. But while we are in this environment, let's find out the means of creatively and innovatively utilizing the time. Especially parents and children, utilizing the time. It is a precious moment for you to be with your child for all this long, morning to evening, night, morning to evening. Arrange, make some good arrangements with your child. Pray with your child and guide him, walk with him the journey, listen to him as he also, listens to you. Teach him how to listen, teach him a number of things and allow to learn from him. But do lots of things together. In other words, the word is collaboration. Collaborate. Work with your family. If you've had to leave the physical office to work from home, make an arrangement that your children will understand. This time is time for office. Daddy and mommy are busy. But this other time is our time. Because I've seen it in lockdown, having left office and then you go to work from home, you almost find you have no time to retire. And so 6 to 10 is office work, yet you are at home.
Yeah.
Please observe that the children will always want their time. They can be in position to give you your time, but when office time is over, they really want to see you. In that other moment when you are going to pick them from school, now you're home, you don't have to pick them, begin playing. Begin doing what you've been doing at home. And encourage your children that it is going to end, life is going to get back to normal. Don't be the superhero. Don't bring your frustrations onto your children. They don't want to be part of that. They still want to look at you as a loving father. They still want to look at you as a loving parent. And explain to them that time is passing. These things are going to end. Life is going to be back to normal. Let them grow admiring the kind of parenting that you've given them. And they're looking forward to being good parents not the other way around. I don't want to be like. But let them grow up thinking, when I grow up as a man, when married, I want to be like my Dad, I want to treat my wife like my dad does. You know, the girl is saying, I want to treat my husband like my mom does, because the children can feel the love between the two of you. You don't have to tell them that we love each other. You can demonstrate and they get to know this home is full of love.
Wow. Thank you so much, Sylvain, and thank you so much, everybody, for coming to the Family Talk Show today, and of course for watching the Family Talk Show and for sharing. Go ahead and share this video far and wide. The program is online. Please make sure it reaches out to as many people as possible, and subscribe to our channel so that you can be alerted every time the Family Talk Show is coming live. The Family Talk Show is live on Sundays, and it will always be repeated throughout the week, so that you can catch it at whatever time. And please make sure you are part of the family discussion growing bigger and better. From us here, we want to say thank you so much, everybody. And of course, we are saying explain everything, father, mother, to your children. Explain, explain, explain. Make your son or your daughter understand that this is not possible and this is possible. Make your nephew or your nieces understand. I always tell them, whenever they ask me for something, I always tell them, look, I have had your request. Write to me, put your request. But make sure your request is smart and is affordable and we can get it. But also, it is important, not urgent. That is how I address it with them. It is important but not urgent. So we're not going to put everything down to look for this when it is not urgent and important. So that's how I do. And so we want to say thank you very much. Sylvain, thank you very much for coming. And to everybody else, we're saying good night, good morning, good evening, depending on which part of the world where you are. The Family Talk Show has come to an end. Until next week, God bless.
when you start a project, definitely, if it's a good idea, it has gone through the development process. Then you start what we call in fundraising as an institution or even an individual who has a creative project. There is what they call fundraising, and that is if it's a public good, it's a common activity. If it's a business, that's a different thing. So when you're doing a business, creative business project, you're not asking for funding, you're asking for investment. People just get turned off by just being asked. You know, you just come and say, why did you give me money? I'm like, who are you? You know?
Why should I give you?
Why should I?
What is it?
How do I get them to know that I exist? You're not asking yet, but you're just trying to check to test the waters and see how whether it's possible. I've met Faisal, I know Eddie, we've had a conversation, I trust what he's going to do.
Yeah.
So that trust is built within that asking. Honestly, the money is there. There's a lot of money, and those who know how to find it, they always find it. But then you find others saying, oh, that one is taking our money. Yet you didn't make an effort to find it. We have sleepless nights. I wake up at 2 a.m. to write applications, proposals. I try to balance my office daytime and my fundraising time and all the other things. So you really have to make an effort. The US has just put out a call. The State Department has just put out a call for support for a collaborative grant between the US and Uganda. It's for institutions, it's for individuals, for practitioners that are interested in exchanging ideas and knowledge between US and Uganda specifically. And it's quite between $5,000 to $50,000. So it's available. I talked about earlier about the SCP fund, which was introduced already here in Uganda before COVID, I think. And finally, we got British Council and HEVA managing this fund for East Africa. So the call is almost out. I think they'll put it out in May or June. And when that call comes out, you can apply for like 180,000 euros for 3 years, that you can do whatever you want to do. It's both institutional and for individual projects.
Please share it far and wide. We are live on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. And this information will always remain there. You can watch the show anytime. You can share it far and wide. And Faisal will be back here next week. We'll be talking about investment into the creative industry and how we can go about it, and who needs what, where, when, how. We'll be talking about it next week. Until next week, Eddie Okila, Faisal Chiwewa, the founder and the CEO of Volleyball Foundation, we're signing out on the Creative Talk. Welcome to the Creative Industry Talk. My name is Eddie Okila, and of course this particular Tuesday we get to discuss the topic of UG creative sector, the challenges and the opportunities in these challenging times. COVID-19 has brought a lot of challenges, but also there are a lot of opportunities that we can take advantage of in this particular time and space to be able to actually become more creative, more successful, and make more money, to say the least. If you find yourself stressed in this period of time, perhaps you have not been a very good creative mind. You need to start thinking more about your creativity so that you are not stressed, because creative people are supposed to make life easier for people. They're supposed to make sure that when I'm stressed, you think for me, you make things creative, turn around things for me, and I'm good to go. But otherwise, welcome to the show. In the studio today, I have the one and only Faisal Chiwewa. Chiwewa. Mother tongue interference.
All the days we've been together, you don't know my name.
Welcome to the show, Faisal. And of course, the one and only Albert Opio Drywood Safari, aka as known to you, is in the studio. Albert, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Great. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. And I want to dive to France and welcome Stella Tal in France. How are you this morning from Kampala? Bonjour, ça va bien?
I'm very well, thank you. And good to be with you this morning. Hope everyone is keeping safe. Yes.
Thank you very much, Stella, for that wonderful. I hope you are staying, enjoying the lockdown like we are in Kampala, having, the fact that you are Ugandan living in France. You have to enjoy this life with us. When we're in lockdown, you also have to be in a lockdown. The spirit of brotherhood and sisterhood all together, Stella. But Faisal, you are traveled.
I always travel.
This lockdown. We want to know, what was the experience like?
It's not very easy these days to travel during this period, but of course it's not that difficult as people expect. So I had a very smooth engagement with my friends, and it was a good break away from. I haven't been in Europe for almost a year. I think it's last March. I think since last January. So going there now, a lot of things have changed, to be honest, and you realize that people have trying to define new ways of living, trying to see how they can move on with this whole madness that is going on. Yeah. But also the other thing is that we hadn't been in theater since this time. So it was, for me, it was amazing to sit in an auditorium with around 100 people watching a production, and I was like, wow, I miss this. I miss this kind of experience again. So it was really nice to watch some concerts, engage with some peers, and talk about the what's going on around the world. Yeah.
Wow. Albert Pio, you traveled all the way from your place to here. What was the experience like?
Luckily, I did not go to Amuria. I was about to go to Amuria, and then they locked us down.
Wow.
That means I was going to go there and I don't come back.
Yes, and stay there for 42 days.
For the 42 days.
We're just on 4 days only. 4 days of the 42, and guys already stressed.
Already. We have 38 to go. Yeah, but I mean, what can we do? We have to survive.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen and lady, welcome to the show. I want to just take you guys through, first of all, to the discussion today. This Tuesday, we are discussing the creative industry talk, and we are looking at the UG creative sector, the challenges and the opportunities in these challenging times. I call these challenging times because a lot has gone on. We've just come out from the lockdown. We are back in the lockdown again. There's a lot of talks that we are likely going to go for the next 14 days after this, as it is has always been. 14 days, then we'll get another 14 days. Before you know it, the year is ending and you don't know what to do. But in this, challenging situation, there's also opportunity in there. I believe that there's opportunity, a lot of it, and we can take advantage of. But I want to take you guys from the creative sector point of view. Creative sector is one of the fastest growing, parts of Uganda economy, whether we like it or not. And as such, it offers very great opportunity for local Ugandans here, as well as the business here, to do things in a very particular way, expose our products. But particularly in the film industry, we can see that there's a lot of growth going on. TV productions, we're seeing sports, we're seeing games, we're seeing the digital marketing has become something of a new development. As we talked about last time, Opio, you were trying to learn how to get into TikTok so that you're not left behind. And but that, gentlemen, with today's digital technologies, UG Creatives businesses can also easily take advantage of the following things, which is actually the center of our discussion today. One, connect with the wider market. We want to know, how do we connect with the wider market going forward? Two, find new distribution channels. We talked about this before. In this time that we're in lockdown, how can we find new distribution channels? Channels. And the third thing I want us to talk about is identify the global demand for creative products and services. You have just come back from Germany. We want to know from you, did you see some opportunity for us there? Or opportunities for us there? Can we take advantage of, can Opio's quick TikTok begin to get to Germany very quickly using your contacts? That's what we're looking for. The network and collaborations with the creative business sectors are really key at the moment. And I want to start with you, Albert Opio. Challenges for the creative businesses are quite a number of them. While many benefits come out very easily, the digital advances are also here. You took us through the process of, the film and then the digital world, how things were done, how some people were being knocked out. But so does the major challenges that comes with finding the market. You know, how do we find the market? How do we expose ourselves? But I want to say this. Creative industry subsectors are quite robust and it's big, and we want to start from the advertising world where you come from, the architecture world, the crafts. We want to go into the design and the designer fashion, which Stella Tal will talk about, the digital and entertainment media, which Faisal Chiwewa here will talk about, the film and photography, which I will chip in the one or two on that part, but also the publishing of it, of here, we'll go back to you again in that regard. Software development and electronics. Can creative people also develop their own software? We're hearing a lot of software development in every aspect, but we don't hear one for creative. Maybe if it's there, we don't know. But Albert, to start with, there are challenges and opportunity in this lockdown. From the advertising point of view, how can we expose our product?
Well, thanks, Eddie. But then the advertising industry is unique in a way, because you must have a contract with a client for you to do any work. So without a contract, it's difficult. The key thing is getting that contract. That then allows you, is it 3 months, is it 6 months, is it 12 months? The advertising industry is going through a change where so many things are changing. Media consumption patterns are changing. So the people who read newspapers has different segment. They're not growing, maybe they're shrinking. The number of people who go to websites, this number, the guys who go to YouTube, websites these days have video embedded in their channel. Almost every website these days has video, which means that people are moving from reading into interactive audio and video spaces. So it's changing so quickly that even advertising in the advertising industry is wondering how to go about it. It is broken down into traditional advertising agencies, which generate the creative ideas. Then it's broken down to those who actually buy the media. It's beginning to be segregated. Those who do production are different. Those who do production for digital spaces are different. So it is breaking up into many small silos. So what big agencies are doing is that they are buying all these small ones and keeping them the way they are, such that they're different, so that they can get business from all the different clients. Gone is the time where one advertising agency can be able to help a client in all facets of the things that are changing. So that's what's happening right now. So you find now digital agencies on their own, all they do is digital. Others just do media buying. Others just do experiential marketing. So things are really changing. So which is good, but it is stressing the traditional model of advertising, because most advertising agencies, first of all, they got a retainer that helps them to pay their overheads, because the retainer is based on the number of staff who are going to be working on that particular job. But then the agency made money from commissions of media, commissions of TV, commissions of outdoor, of print, and things like that. So when clients are removing the media buying or production components from the traditional agency, then you're going to struggle to survive, because now there's not enough money. As a business, it is not enough for you to survive. So those bigger agencies are breaking down into smaller ones, and all they're trying to do is reduce the overhead costs. And that's what is disrupting the industry, really.
Wow.
But the biggest challenge as well, if you move it away from advertising to add music or production or the movie industry, advertising, creativity is almost like farming. People only buy what has already been produced. That means everybody must first put in, you must first finish your song.
Yes.
Produce it to a certain standard.
Yes.
Then you must promote it.
Yes.
Basically, the expenses that go into creativity are high.
Yeah.
So a small thing like a lockdown, I'm calling it small, but
Yes.
it's big.
Yes.
When a lockdown happens, people go straight into losses because they have put all their money up front, which is different from all other businesses. They pay you before, when you walk to buy a shirt in a shop, you first hand in the money before they
money
give you.
and goods, and
they
that's
give
it,
you.
yeah.
So similar with the farmer, if I plant tomatoes, nobody wants to know about my tomatoes
Yeah.
until the tomatoes are ripe. Now there's a challenge. How do I sell those tomatoes before they go bad? That's exactly what creativity is.
Wow.
Which is a very, very difficult model to sustain, because you must put in money first before you even earn. Because many times you don't make that money. And that causes financial distress.
Wow. Faisal, you have heard Pio has just broken something down, and I'm beginning to think about, because I've fallen in that category where he says you put in money and then lockdown come and things are sweet. You don't know what to do. You have these things with you. But yes, Faisal, let's pick it up from you, from the digital and entertainment, place where you are, and the music and visual performing arts, where you stand.
Yeah, I mean, as Opia said, I mean, the challenges are the same, the effects are the same. I think the advantages, I come from a multidisciplinary approach. There are industries or subsectors within the entertainment or the creative industries that we work in, or the performing arts, that are being much more affected than the others. For those who are doing music, it's kind of an advantage for some, because there are opportunities for distribution online, digital distribution. There are opportunities for buying and selling, audio. There are opportunities of some small or shows that are happening indoors and something like that. But there are other sectors that are totally blacked out, like theater. I can imagine what all the actors that we've known, from Bakaimbira to Talent, or which Afri Talent, Batvari, what are they all doing? And then you go to the film, the downtown film industry, what are they doing? Then you go to the visual arts. They are not, all the galleries are closed. People don't have money, even if they could access the work. So there are those that are very much affected, and there are those that are kind of could have been easier to work with. So the film industry has been very fortunate that Pearl Magic has come on the market. Of course, they are not working with everyone, but there are opportunities for those who have good work. I hope you see that when you create content, then people can sell it. Actually, for film, there are advantages that some of them get co-production costs covered, so that you have a good script, it's liked, then like what Pearl Magic is doing, they are investing in the content themselves. The only thing I find interesting about it, that they invest in the content and they take the rights. I was actually talking to one of the producers, and they were like, how dare you?
But the rights, the problem is they're not being honest. The rights of this thing belongs to Pearl Magic. They come with it and say, can you produce? Like if I come and say, Faisal, if I write a script, I mean, there's what they called commissioning in film production. So Albert Opio has a very good idea and wants to produce this, and he has the money, but he can't produce it. So Albert Opio will say, Eddie, can I commission you to produce this content for me? It doesn't mean that because I am being commissioned to produce this program, originally the idea originates from Opio, so Opio will definitely have the copyright.
No, the incident or the case I was talking about was the writer had the script, but they didn't have the money. Okay. So they went to Pearl Magic. Pearl Magic, maybe I shouldn't say that. They might say
it's okay.
But then they went.
The conversation that has been
and then they went, and then, but they were willing. They were not forced or whatever. Not cheated at all. I was like, are you sure? Like, that was the only way for his script to get out. Yes. And
so he had to give the right. The right was paid for and taken. So you can't complain.
And he can't complain. But but I wouldn't do that. Yeah. That is like selling your soul. But of course, he sees more opportunities coming. So industries are being affected differently at different levels. Yes. And I think, but also, I mean, when you look at advertising, I don't know how much advertising we are consuming these days. When it comes like, of course, everyone wants to go on YouTube, everyone is on social media. But when you look at all this physical advertising, it's not much relevant anymore. Of course, I don't know whether it's just even not adding any color to the city or anything else, but it's also very much downsized because people are not buying much stuff and the investments are not there. So there are so many different segmentations when it comes to this challenge.
Okay, I want us to go to Faisal. Faisal and Opio. I want us to go to Stella Attal in France. I went to Stella Attal. Let's talk about fashion and design, where you are comfortable. Are we taking the opportunities amidst these challenges that we have, these challenging times of COVID-19 pandemic all across the world and in Uganda? How are you people in that space taking advantage of that? And if at all you are navigating the challenges and the opportunities, which of course Opio and Faisal said they are, how are you taking advantage of it? Selata?
I think now I'm going to talk as a Ugandan designer on behalf of the Ugandan designers. There are lots of opportunities actually for the fashion designers because of the lockdown and because people have to stay at home. There is a lot that you can do. You have to just divert your interest from your comfort zone and now deal with the prevailing demand of the public. People are working from home, so they need clothes to put on when they're working. People, when they're attending to meetings, they must put on like on the, especially like the top. You must look like elegant, like you're in the office. Then you must have clothes for home. Most people spend less time at home, but now they are home like 24/7. So they need clothes to put on when they're home. You're not going to put on your nice dress you used to put on to go maybe like to a corporate function or to go for a cocktail. They need clothes like that. Then we need clothes for the frontliners. That's a very big market. When you look even in Europe, all the doctors, people who are working on the front line, they are given maybe like 1 or 2 uniforms because there is a lot of demand and few people are doing that. So you find that they go out of their pockets to buy additional uniforms because when you wash, every day you have to wash a uniform or you have to put on 2 a day to be safe. And then the masks, they give you masks, but then sometimes they are not enough. So you have to outsource your own masks for your own safety. What I see the challenge we have in Uganda, I think is people have been laid back. The designers, they think maybe life is going to change tomorrow, which is not true. But then my advice is for them to look like at the demographics of the areas where they are, tap into the opportunities, look at the lifestyle of the people there, look at maybe the earnings, look at the interest, look at the demand of what is available. If you're near the hospital, tap into that opportunity. If you're near maybe like a school, tap into that opportunity. Lots and lots of people are giving back. They have no clothes. People no longer travel to go and buy clothes in Europe. You have to deal with what is available next to you. But then if we don't show these people that we can do what can be consumed right now, then they won't even look for us. And secondly, we need to tap into the online market. But that is a bit of a challenge because of our internet in Uganda is not that good, especially with social media. And right now, social media is the biggest platform for marketing. And the less internet coverage you have, then the less access you're going to have reaching your clients. And then also, when you get that access, you have to think about how are you going to deliver your product. If a client wants something from you, how are you going to get it from your point to the client's point, and not to discourage or disappoint the client. If you say I'll deliver on Tuesday, it has to be there. Are you going to use a border? Are you going to use DHL? Are you going to use post office? You have to look into that. And then when that is done, then you have to look into the payment plan. How are they going to pay you? Can you access your account online? Are they going to give you mobile money? So all these, you have to sit down and find a way of how you're going to make ends meet, you and the client. And it's possible, it's doable, but we just need to get out of our comfort zone of doing runway clothes and now get down to the reality that even now I can do bed sheets because the hospital needs bed sheets. So by the time I wait to get to the runway, it might be maybe even 2016. So let's use the opportunities that are available right now. And I'm sure there are lots and lots of opportunities for the fashion designers.
Thank you very much, Stella. Thank you for that I think Stella brings some very interesting points, gentlemen, and Abatopio. There has always been this situation in the Ugandan, settings where we don't know how to tap into opportunity when they're available. Yet our counterparts in Kenya, when they come here, you find them creative art director, creative directors. They take some serious stuff from us, and we don't know how to take the opportunity. What do you think is our biggest challenge in taking the opportunities in challenging times like this one?
I think we have to be open-minded, because I think if you're a creative person, you probably have skills, but you're probably concentrating on the skill that was being paid for. But if you talk to every creative person, they've got other skills that are untapped, hidden. What lockdown is providing us an opportunity. The opportunity lockdown is giving us is to, because the one that was paying you is kind of locked down now. So can you give the others a chance?
Unlock the other ones.
Unlock the other ones, yes. Because now it allows, because before you were too busy.
Yeah.
Maybe from morning to evening, busy. You have no time, you're busy, but you're being paid. But now that you're not being paid, what happens to the others? Do you look there and see whether they are still alive? Are they relevant? like Stella says about fashion, things are changing.
Yeah.
If people are spending a lot of time at home, they're probably not going to buy long-sleeved checkered shirts for office, because where am I going to wear them? They're probably going to wear t-shirts and shorts. Oh, but Stella, this is lockdown.
Oh.
I'm missing lockdown, so not too bad. So I'm listening to what you're saying. Yeah, but the opportunities are there for many creative people to actually think outside of the box and create new things out of what you can. For example, I think that you could be able to do some fun t-shirt designs. I design them for free for my friends, for this. I just say, hey, there you are, take that one. I couldn't sleep last night. I came up with this idea. Run with it, and I do it for free. So why am I doing it for free? Why aren't I thinking of doing it
for 20K?
I could sell 5 shirts a day
yes.
and make 100K. So basically, it's about being open-minded, really, and accepting that this new normal might actually become the normal.
No, actually, I really enjoyed Stella's submission, because one of the things that I really realized that we don't see these things, and maybe it's also the exposure that we don't have that much exposure. When I was attending a production in Düsseldorf last weekend, I was very amazed to see how much people are doing things. And people are like, one of the production that I watched was a premiere of a play called The Life of Michael K. from South Africa. And they were premiering it because South Africa is under a strict lockdown. So they were premiering it at Scape in Cape Town. And we were in Düsseldorf. But because it's strict lockdown, they were the only ones in the theater, the actors. And they were doing a whole 2.5-hour production for us in Germany. Can you imagine?
Wow.
So we were their audience, and they're in Cape Town acting for us in Germany. And I thought that this is amazing. What can we create? And I think the challenge is that we don't look a little bit further. We are so distracted, and that's one of the things that I tell people, that social media has also created a lot of distraction for people. People wake up, they go to bed, they're on Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp. They can't put their phones down to have a moment to reflect, to have a moment to think and look around. What can they do? I think that's also one of the biggest things, that because of course for the consumers and other advertisers and people who are selling products, they're earning from it. But you as a person, you're not developing yourself because you're consuming too much of your time and not thinking for the better. And the other thing, when you talk about Kenyans taking our jobs, I think that was in the 90s and the early 2000s.
Yes.
Early 2000s. I think our society has changed. We're not yet, I think what we normally forget is from the 70s to the late, I think till like mid-1995, Uganda was going through a transformation. We had just come out of the war, Museveni had just ruled for a few years, the North was still under trouble, so there was not stability opportunity, and people were just getting themselves to start. And I think after that, in the early 2000s, started to fit in. As the president said that there are more kids of rich people who are going to be employed. I think this is also another transformation. It's another transformation that we have to observe, actually. And I realized he has a point. He might be a little bit selfish, but he has a point. And when you look at our generation, the generation of our parents, there's a huge gap that has been breached, you know? And I think it's a good thing. So I really think, but also we have to understand the societal stratas, how our societies, like when I look at South Africa, you have to be, if you want to be a CEO, you have to be white. And the manager has to be a cappuccino, like, you know, mixed, they call them cappuccino. And then the others are South Africans. That's our society. So we also have to see how is our society arranged when it comes to hierarchy. It plays a role as well.
Wow. Well, gentlemen and lady, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I want you to apply your mind to finding new distribution channel, while Opio will tell us about, you know, the digital entertainment process and publishing of these digital things we're talking about, because he comes from advertising world, and he's now doing a lot of digital communications. You know, we're not printing them outright, they're being distributed digitally. From a marketing and communication point of view, how do we take more advantage of this? Are there some opportunities outside Uganda? Because we could be the cheap labor for the US, or, you know, for the UK, or for Russia, whatever, you know, these are the countries who are more developed, and the labor is paid $50 per hour or $15 per hour. We may not be able to have that. $15 per hour is how much in Ugandan shillings here?
50K.
50K.
Yes. Slightly above 50K.
Yeah, so if I can find somebody in Africa or in Uganda here who can do this thing for 10,000 shillings an hour, don't you think that's very good? Because that gives me more hours than paying 50K an hour. So are we exposing ourselves to that point? Why are we not seeing that? So Albert, I want you to apply your mind to that. And Stella Tal, apply your mind to, you know, how do we digitally distribute these clothes you're talking about to other people outside Uganda here. We tap into our neighbors in the region. And of course we want to talk to you, Faizo, from the electronic and software for distribution of music and electronic. We're talking about this in this era. How can we take advantage of it going forward? Stay right there. The Creative Industry Talk will be right back after the break.
An army of sheep led by a lion will beat an army of lions led by a sheep. That's a fake. Yes. So let's be very honest about this thing, and really understand that you need to understand where you lie and where you fall. So it's very important for us to understand that leadership has to be definitive. You can't be laissez-faire. It has to be definitive. You have to be strong, just like a lion. You know, when a lion meets an elephant or a buffalo or whatever, the buffalo and all these animals run away. And yet, by the way, they are stronger than the lion, they are heavier than the lion, they are more intelligent than the lion, they are taller than the lion. They run away. The lion, because of its attitude, it sees lunch. That is a leader.
Mr. Tony, thank you very much for coming to the CEO bench. And I want to ask you, so if you were elected the President of the Republic of Uganda today, what would be your first State of Nation address? Now, as you look into the camera and close the show.
I think my first State of the Nation address would first of all to... I think I'll just close it down.
Definitely, if it's a good idea, it has gone through the development process. Then you start what we call in fundraising as an institution or even an individual who has a creative project. There is what they call fundraising, and that is if it's a public good, it's a common activity. If it's a business, that's a different thing. So when you're doing a business, creative business project, you're not asking for funding, you're asking for investment. People just get turned off by just being asked. You know, you just come and say, why did you give me money? I'm like, who are you? You know?
Why should I give you?
Why should I?
And what is it?
How do I get them to know that I exist? You're not asking yet, but you're just trying to check to test the waters and see how whether it's possible. I've met Faisal, I know Eddie, we've had a conversation, I trust what he's going to do.
Yeah.
So that trust is built within that asking. Honestly, the money is there. There's a lot of money, and those who know how to find it, they always find it. But then you find others saying, oh, that one is taking our money. Yet you didn't make an effort to find it. We have sleepless nights. I wake up at 2 a.m. to write applications, proposals. I try to balance my office daytime and my fundraising time and all the other things. So you really have to make an effort. The US has just put out a call. The State Department has just put out a call for support for a collaborative grant between the US and Uganda. It's for institutions, it's for individuals, for practitioners that are interested in exchanging ideas and knowledge between US and Uganda specifically. And it's quite between $5,000 to $50,000. So it's available. I talked about earlier about the SCP fund, which was introduced already here in Uganda before COVID, I think. And finally, we got British Council and HEVA managing this fund for East Africa. So the call is almost out. I think they'll put it out in May or June. And when that call comes out, you can apply for like 180,000 euros for 3 years, that you can do whatever you want to do. It's both institutional and for individual projects.
Please share it far and wide. We are live on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. And this information will always remain there. You can watch the show anytime. You can share it far and wide. And Faisal will be back here. Next week, we'll be talking about investment into the creative industry and how we can go about it, and who needs what, where, when, how. We'll be talking about it next week. Until next week, Edio Killer, Faisal Chiwewa, the founder and the CEO of Baobab Foundation, we're signing out on the Creative Talk.
An army of sheep led by a lion will beat an army of lions led by a sheep. That's a fake. Yeah. So let's be very honest about this thing, and really understand that you need to understand where you lie and where you fall. So it's very important for us to understand that leadership has to be definitive. You can't be laissez-faire. It has to be definitive. You have to be strong, just like a lion. When a lion meets an elephant or a buffalo, the buffalo and all these animals run away, and yet, by the way, they are stronger than the lion.
It is the Creative Industry Talk. Welcome back from that break, and we are discussing the UG creative sector, the challenges and the opportunities in these challenging times of COVID-19. Uganda, for example, is in a lockdown, 42 days. We've so far done 4 days. In these 4 days, what have you done? Have you earned money in these 4 days of lockdown? Are you trying something new? Are you finding new opportunities? Yes, there are challenges, but there are also opportunities that we can take advantage of and actually be better and be able to do something greater for ourselves. In the studio is Alberto Pio, who is a creative curator is how we call him. The man is full of wisdom. He's an artsman who says he's picking some of his skills from the the one he had shelved because he was very busy designing things, putting it to, you know, TikTok, and he's going to start telling us about safaris and which places to go to, what to do, how to get there. Opio is going to start doing that, and I want you to pay for that service because the man is pulling his ideas from. Gentlemen, come back. Welcome back to the show. And Faisal here is already using his skills, I think, in developing new softwares for distributing music. If I'm not mistaken, outside, because the festival is no longer going to be viable.
We need alternatives.
Yes. And Stella Tala said they're designing Suka and Busuti for staying home, these shorts and stuff like that, and being distributed online, which is a good thing. Okay, gentlemen and ladies, before we went for a break, we were discussing the connections and the wider market and how we can get there, and the advertising. I wanted to start from you, Albert. We are now designing things and putting it digitally out. And there are people who pay $50, for example, in the UK, the US, in America, in Europe, and in the other parts of the world, which are developed countries, $50 per hour for a designer to sit down and design something for them, or for a message to go out. This is a message about their product and their brand. In Uganda here, that could be about 50,000 per hour. If I am living in the US or in Europe or whatever, and I find that I can pay Opio Albert in Uganda to 10,000 per hour to sit down and design my stuff and go, it becomes much cheaper for me to go with. Are Ugandans taking advantage of this, Albert? Or how can we help these people take advantage? I mean, Daniel Ogong was here on the show, and he talks about the biggest problem of Uganda and Ugandan creatives is that we're not exposed. He says, until we start, you know, traveling across, we will not understand how to take the advantage. You, of course, a man who has been traveling around. You have traversed this country. I think you can write a book about this country. You've fished in the Lake Victoria. You've gone around the region, and you are back. You've worked in Tanzania. Are we taking advantage of this, Albert, of you? And how can we take it, if not at this point going forward?
I think most creative spaces are like politics. You will not be appointed a minister if you do not have a constituency.
Yeah.
You must have a constituency.
And you want it.
Yes, there has to be some constituency that you own.
Yeah.
Then you try and
with
go
the wind,
outside.
meanwhile.
Then you try and go outside that space.
Yeah.
If you cannot become an international musician or artist if you don't have a local audience. Because if you grow up in Uganda, almost all insights about life that inform your creativity are from where you live, the things that you see around you. Those people must be able to buy your creativity, your painting, your song, whatever. And if I discover overnight that I can sing, and I did not know about this, and I start singing like a Nigerian, yeah, I might put my songs on YouTube and whatever. But then everybody will ask, who are you? Where are you from? Where are your inspirations coming from? I mean, you can't just say, I like Nigerian music. That's why I'm here. But then all your stories are local. So that means you see a lot of musicians who are succeeding, even in Uganda right now, are singing in Luganda, Swahili, or a mix of English and a local language. That means you have a local constituency, and then you're also looking for an international constituency. Even when you're invited to symposia or arts festivals all over the world, they ask you, where are you from? It's an important question. So I think the success of people like Jumia, who are in Uganda and have disrupted the local space. Jumia is in different countries in Africa, but they're all local. That if you're buying and selling things, you're buying and selling things in Uganda, in Nigeria, in South Africa. They're not selling something from South Africa, Jumia South Africa, and Jumia Uganda. It is within, and they're making money, which means there is potential for business locally. Who else is? There are many other people who are doing things locally. And I think we should not discount the local market now. If you look at the international space, say I'm a designer and I design logos and things, and I'm locked down, there are many designers worldwide who are also locked down. There are websites like Fiverr, where for $5 they'll design a logo. That definitely disadvantages me, because then a lot of people are going to go to Fiverr to get a logo. If you think I'm As a creative, I'm going out to look for a business. Even the other guys online, and I know that there is a place called Fiverr where for $5 I can get a logo. It might not be the best, but it can kickstart me off, right? So and if you look at photography, we talked about it before. I want to be a photographer, but then there are places like freepic.com. There are places like Shutterstock. There are places like which are offering video clips, images, and animations for almost $5 or $10. And you look at the amount of money I must spend to create the same thing. So a lot of people are going to purchase. So I'm in the creative space. If you look at billboards around Kampala, there are like 5 models that keep appearing. He's appearing in insurance, he's appearing in banking, the same guy. That means all these people are purchasing from the same. So that means even the local models are not earning money that much anymore. The local photographers are not earning money that much anymore. So you see, this thing of the international market is a double-edged sword. It is good, but it's bad. Now photographers are not making money because anyone can take a photo of an African setting anywhere across Africa for cheap. Because of software, a lot of people know how to use Photoshop, Illustrator, Adobe Premiere, and all these things. A lot of people who didn't really study this thing can actually shoot home videos and edit and upload. And that has become new content, which is on social media sites. So where you thought, I'm on a TV channel, I'm qualified, I've got this degree, and people are going to watch me, people are going to TikTok to watch home videos which are even poorly done. But they are videos, and people are earning money from that. So it's changing a lot, and I still go back to the local constituency. We must be able to consume what we produce fast before we actually think. I was in art school, and I think we're only, in my year, there are like 3 people out of 49 who are still practicing. Wow. Because the things, when we came out of art school, the art school had an ism. They said every school of art must have an ism. It must have a way it approaches a topic or a subject. When we came out with sort of abstraction was the ism, and how we abstract. Basically, for 3 years, we were told, leave that. Our ism in this school is this. When you come out with your degree, you can break out of the ism and do whatever you want. But when we came out, our people don't understand abstraction. They understand real life things. So now we are there with all our fantastic abstract things, which the market does not want. So we are lucky now that there is internet and social media and whatever. But then you had nowhere to go. That means where were artists displaying their art? They were going to Alliance Francaise, German Cultural Center. Already you're disconnecting yourself from your people. And they're the ones who are constant. They're the ones there with you every day.
In lockdown, you're locked now with them.
With them. And if they're not purchasing from you, then you have to change the product. Like Stella said, if things have changed, your product has to change based on the new circumstances. So if I still think the international market is important, I'm going to upload my art online. But with the digital, I can download that art now and manipulate it and make it mine. So I may not even earn from it, like some music. Your song goes online and people don't buy anymore because there's so many sites which are giving that for free. You must have a local constituency which purchases. So all of my friends abandoned art. 3 years, finished, looked at the market, not interested. They're in banking, they're in marketing, they're in sales. So we've lost a lot of artists who are actually very, very good. Many of them are better than me, much better than me. But they're now in real estate, they're in hardware shops, which is sad for the creative space because we were forced to do something that we could not sell. Now, if we need an art school or a space where we get those skills and, like, say, reorient them for the market. What does the market want? The market wants pictures of their family, portraits. Like now, all these deaths that are happening, there might be people who want portraits of their loved ones that they can share,
Because they didn't bury them.
Yes, you get it. COVID-19. So there are ways artists now can find streams, because in like 500 years ago, family portraits or the king or rich men, would pay artists to come and draw them.
Yes.
You know, in a certain way. So
Faisal
that was how,
is smiling because he comes from the visual part of it.
that's
Yes,
how
yes,
people
yeah.
used to earn money.
Yeah.
Rich people and the kings and whatever would commission artists to paint chapels, to paint their houses, to paint. So that's how artists made money, right? Now, I see that's a local audience. So an artist in French was commissioned by a French king or a French rich man. An artist in Spain was commissioned by a Spanish person. He was not waiting for an American. Here, we need Ugandans commissioning Ugandan artists, whether it's film, whether it's music, whether in whatever way.
Wow.
We need to find a way of localizing our artistic expression, and then we purchase. Musicians have done that very well and are earning money because they're singing, what's it called? Lockdown. You know, someone has made a song out of lockdown and is making a name for himself.
Yes.
People abroad don't understand what lockdown is.
Yes.
Look at Nigerian music. Half the things in a Nigerian song we don't understand.
Yeah.
We don't even know what they're saying, but we're dancing, you know. So, but then they first have a strong Nigerian market of 100 million people, which they're focusing on, and then the quality of the production is so high that people outside Nigeria can also consume it. But their primary market is local.
Wow.
So I think all our digital spaces need to be used first to focus on your creating a local constituency.
Yeah.
Then you can go outside and shine.
Wow, I think the biggest take out of this today has been find a market. If Okila has a family, go and sell yourself to Okila. Don't try to go and sell yourself to somebody who is better than Okila, and when the lockdown comes, he's not here and you can't continue to send your work to him and you are stuck with Okila here.
Imagine you're an MC at functions.
Yeah.
You think a Kenyan is going to hire a Ugandan MC? And it's a Ugandan, whether it's for corporate, whether it's for Kwanjula or weddings, it's going to be a guy who understands the local nuances, the local things that is going to be hired for that function.
Wow.
If I don't speak Unyankole, there's no way I want to be the MC of a Unyankole function. I'm going to find somebody who understands the culture and nuances of Ankole.
Unless you cross something so big in that space that they will say, okay, we need this guy to come and work with this guy here, because I've seen it happen.
Yes, and look at Trevor Noah.
Yeah.
If Trevor Noah was not successful in South Africa, nobody would have known that there's a guy called Trevor Noah ever.
Right.
Luckily for him, his upbringing, white, black, and what's it called?
Cappuccino.
Cappuccino. Allowed him to understand what happens in black, what happens in cappuccino,
White,
what happens in white.
Yes.
So now, when he goes to the US, he's got a world view
Of things.
of things. Opio Herbert from Amuria cannot be able to crack the kind of jokes that Trevor Noah can crack, because I'm not that exposed. I don't know, but I can be a good comedian in Teso. But I can't
throw you in Buganda here, you are lost.
I'm lost because I don't speak the language. Yeah. So I go back to the local constituency first, then the world will recognize you.
Wow. Faisal, you've heard Opio's submission right there. We wanted to hear your thoughts on one, finding the new distribution and identifying the global demand for creative products and services. But more specifically on software and electronic publishing. You are in that space right now. Are we taking advantage of it? Are there opportunities? Can the local take?
I think there are so many attempts now that we are all trying to figure out how to deal with this situation. What is amazing is to see how much or how many platforms are coming out during this. People are trying to think, how can they survive? How can they put their work out there? One of the advantages of people who were online before this pandemic came in, that they were already established and people knew them. You know, like Jumia, like, you know, there's also these artists who used to do live shows already. So it was easier for them to roll in or invest a little bit more to make it better than those who are just starting. You know, for us who are just starting to realize that, okay, we need to be online. We are so used to the physical presence of our work. And now that was disrupted. So what we're doing now, like for example, case of Uganda, we've really decided to make sure that we try to set up some platforms for artists to benefit their work online. We are launching a new product called Umva Creatives, and this is an online platform which is an integration of cryptocurrency as well as selling art online. Like Stella was saying, one of the interesting aspect of this is like the logistical aspect of it. You know, how do you get one product from one point to another? Of course, we want to look at the local market. One of the things that we are really, really trying to figure out is how do we get Ugandans to start buying local art, the abstract art. And then you also realize that we are not aware, as Opio said, people are not aware, they don't understand abstract art. It's like contemporary dance. Ugandans don't understand contemporary dance. You know, for us, we know our traditional dances. That's it. Anyone can dance. Then you find someone doing contemporary dance, like, what are they doing? What's the message? So it's really, really hard to sell. So what we are trying to do is to open up the market for them, for both local and international. And our strategy is that with this visual art platform, we want to take it out to the people. We go to all these offices. I go to the Ministry of Gender. There's no painting of any Ugandan artist. You go to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. There's no painting of any Ugandan artist. You go to all these offices in Kampala that need work to look better, to look good. Maybe now that we are going to be remote working, even at home, I mean, some people are starting to buy some works of art because they're really realizing that you can't have those Chinese, you know, plastic things anymore. So the opportunities are there. We are launching a platform. And also on the musical distribution, one of the things that we've realized, many artists, or especially musicians, have lost so much of their royalties. Yeah. Because they don't know whether their work can be online, or they don't know which platforms to work with. And there are those that have also taken the platforms that have taken advantage of the local musicians. Like they upload artist work, the artist doesn't know how to claim their money, they don't have a bank account, they don't know how to, you know, to claim their royalties. So you find that those platforms have the works of artists, they're earning from them, and they're not giving back the money to the artists. So we're also trying to fix that, and we are trying to work with UPRS as well as our Orchard distribution to fix that problem. And of course, there are also so many other distribution platforms that exist. Yeah.
Faisal, before I go to Stella Tal, I want to know from you, and in fact, I'm going to go back to Abatopio as well. Something that you've mentioned that tickled something in my mind, bring the question to mind. One, you were saying that Ugandans don't understand the abstract art, and we don't understand the contemporary dance and these things. But maybe we are not doing quite enough to expose Ugandans to these things. Because any product developed and people don't know it, or people are not exposed to it, they're going to, of course, reject it because they have no knowledge of this product. The product is not in their faces. Nobody is struggling to put the product there. Maybe the first place we need to start with is how do we get this work to Ugandans? Abatopio, how much have you been doing to put the abstract art, you know, before Ugandans, the local Ugandans, the killers on the street? The killers who have the money,
no, but
don't know these things.
But the thing is that you can't, I mean, like, every art form has its way of presentation. For me, when I look at, the creative arts, there are three things I follow. Mm-hmm. The art, the form of art, the artist, and the space. So you can't expect a Senson or a Paul Ndema or a Muzili to find it on the streets of Kampala that they're selling it because they want to expose it to people. I think it's the understanding, where does visual art come from in this country? It's not local. It was brought in, and they have educated these people to learn how to do it in an abstract way. Forgetting, I think we need to go back also to educate the people who are educating the artists to first maybe understand that, maybe do an analysis of, like, do Ugandans understand abstract art? If they don't understand, why are we teaching kids to do abstract art when Ugandans don't understand?
There's no market.
Yeah,
there's no market.
Yeah, and I cannot blame Paul Ndema, who actually only paints for specific collectors. Like some are Ugandan, specific collectors. I cannot blame him for selling to those people outside because he has studied. He needs to do some work. And if he's good at what he's doing and the locals are not buying, why doesn't he look for the outside market? You know, and he doesn't mind selling to a foreigner because that's where they can do what they're going to
the money
from.
Is, yeah.
Yeah, so we really have also to understand that whereas we are looking for the market outside, whereas we are looking for the market internally, we also need to be assessing ourselves, like, what do we consume? What can we consume? It's not always the responsibility of the artist to take their work out. It's also the people themselves to make an effort to understand what is theirs. How can we consume ours? And most times, it's not very easy for people to consume theirs.
Okay. Abat,
yes.
There was a question there for you.
Yes.
Abstract art, the market is not there. You are an advertiser. and you come from a place where you create something, a market, you create a product that doesn't exist in the market, and sell it to the market and create something new and it works, and you say yes, you sell. How come we've not been able to create the market for abstract art with all these hotels, you know, coming all over the places, all these people's homes and what?
Yes.
We even have a general who is an artist for a creative mind. I don't know whether his work is somewhere in State House or somewhere. I don't know.
At the airport.
At the airport, yes.
Look at it this way. Look at it this way. Abstract art is like me going to Amuria, my district, and opening a pizzeria. And moving around the villages, asking people to come and eat pizza. I will close in 4 months. my people eat dried meat in ginger sauce and kalo. Why am I insisting that they must eat pizza? Unless the pizza is made of kalo. Maybe. That's why there was even something called a Hawaiian pizza, which was changed to Ugandan pizza because there's pineapple in it. When Domino's was here, many years ago, like 20 years ago, Domino's pizza, the Hawaiian, which was now termed Ugandan, was the biggest selling because there was a component of pineapple. All the other ingredients, we didn't understand what was in there. So, which brings us
The salamis and
the salamis. I don't know whether it's raw or cooked. I don't know. So why are we confusing people? Come back. If you ask me about advertising, before a product is launched, they go and do some market surveys. How do people consume A, B, C, D, E, F, G? What are they currently consuming? If I bring this product, will it work? Will I change the habits? How long will it take for me to change their habits? But will it eventually work? Is it something that is on demand? When Coca-Cola put up their plant in Mbarara, they realized that part of Uganda is not consuming Coca-Cola. They drink milk in the morning, they drink milk with lunch, they drink milk with supper. And how do I stop
This guy
is from drinking milk? Okay, not the whole day, but once in a day. Give me some money. So Coca-Cola had to go and do research about that. Even made the small Coca-Cola bottles before they went plastic, the small glass.
Coca-Cola mini.
Yes, where Coca-Cola was 400 shillings, that soda was 200 shillings. And that was specifically for the Western, to try and compete with milk, which was at that price. So they had to make a soda which at the same price and do, like, someone said, why drink Coca-Cola, which is 400, when milk is 200?
Yes.
I'm drinking milk. So they had to do a mini and put it at the same price as milk, then now go advertise and like, you're cool, you're sexy, Coca-Cola. But first they had to do the structural, find out what that person consumes, and then look for ways to enter. In advertising, they call it share of pocket.
Yes.
So if someone has 20K, how much of that 20K is he going to give you? Because he has to buy data, he has to pay
school fees,
tax. No, on the 20K. If every day I have 20,000 in my pocket, I leave home and I have 20,000 in my pocket, I must board a taxi to and fro. I must eat food. I must buy data. I must have airtime. So along the way there might be, I have to say, in that 20K, buy soda. Or buy this. So if I have to say, buy art. That guy who moves 20K doesn't buy art. So I have to understand my market. Because if I'm selling my painting at 500,000 or 1 million shillings or 2 million shillings, where is that market? Such that I go and target strictly where that market is. At 2 million shillings, you're looking at a certain person who earns a certain amount of money. Where do they hang out? What are their consumption habits? I mean, it's pointless for me to go to the National Theatre and display. When every time I go to the National Theatre, it's a young audience that goes to the National Theatre. So my target audience is not going there. For particularly painting, if my painting is 2 million shillings, but they'll go, National Theatre will probably go for other art forms. So I really need to find out, where are these people? Am I going to talk to the Sheraton and they display my art for free? Am I going to talk to all these places and like, give us your walls as a gallery, for example?
But you see it also a lot nowadays, like you go to all these restaurants around.
Coffee shops and things. So
they
are trying. So you have to really merge You can't force somebody to consume abstraction if they are not interested in abstraction. Find out what are they consuming now. It was a point where, it's like photography.
Yeah.
Many studios are closing. Studios are closing. Why? Phones are getting better. Those days, I went with my family, Sunday best. You stand here, we arranged ourselves. They took a photo, we framed it, we put it on the wall at home. We made smaller ones, put them in an album. When you went visiting, the first thing they gave you as you were drinking your juice was the family album. Now, parents, kids, aunties, uncles are on Facebook. So people are taking a photo, click, and uploading directly with a comment there and then. Now that thing is interactive. that picture on the wall has now become interactive, which is better than the static one. So guys are waiting, photographers with their cameras and are waiting for people to come. They're not coming. So studios are closing. You get it. So the art form has changed. So you must be able to respond to the changes of. So if people want real life pictures of their family, if you look at the barrios, what's the first thing they show there? A portrait of the Mugens. If someone cannot be at a Kwanjula, what do they use? A photo of the person to represent. You get it. So photography has managed to place itself
somewhere
in almost all the places where a painter would have been. A photographer has taken that space. So if I was a photographer, what do I do? There are opportunities for me or not, right? As a painter, I have to find, that's where now abstraction comes into play, because if I cannot compete with the camera, which is very good at telling you the colors, that day, how it was, the lighting, it will show you exactly how everything was laid out that day without wasting time. And I can share it with the whole world. I can put it on WhatsApp status and on Facebook. The whole world will see that picture now. Now me, who takes 2 months to make one painting, and I'm asking for 2 million shillings. Life is hard. So now I say, who is that person who will consume? If I paint, what am I painting? What am I changing? So there are things like, there's so many ideas that I want, for example, as me, when I want to go to a gallery and find a group of artists, I have so many ideas in my head of what they could paint, which are locally relevant. Who has painted the cabinet of Uganda? Who has painted the first cabinet in 1962? Who is the artist they commissioned to create this art piece? Who are the women in parliament? For example, imagine I went and got Nabanja, and I don't have to, I can find their photos online, and then I put them together, and then I paint something about that.
You might paint
how many?
You might paint them and people don't buy them.
But it is a beginning.
It's a beginning. It's a start of something.
You're trying to see whether
how they respond.
How they respond. So basically, what you're doing is you're talking local topics, local, because there are ministers in Uganda, there are members of parliament. So I am assuming there's going to be a politician who might say,
I like this.
Give me one. Can I give me a big one? Someone will be like, you can even do prints.
Yes.
All these feminist NGOs will be like, wow, women, give me. So you might actually end up selling prints, and then somebody buys the original. Okay. I think there are opportunities. If I wanted to paint, for example, you've seen at the Namgongo.
Yeah, shrine.
They've tried to recreate what happened that time, right?
Yes.
But that recreation is from a religious point of view. If you ask Uganda, they have a different perspective of what happened. That for me is content. Why aren't I trying to paint what I think from all the reading? I'm merging what I read from the church, from what I'm reading from Uganda Kingdom, and all other historians. I read. Then I'm like, I think this would happen. Then I paint one. You know, some Mutaka or some rich Muganda man is like, that is what I was saying. Give me that painting. How much? I can even sell 5 million. And he tells me, but I have to pay asking for it. I'm paying you. How much do I pay you? And you don't paint it again.
Yes.
I be the only one who has it.
Yes.
You can even, your money can go to 15 million or 20 million.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that it is possible if we dig deeper into what our communities like. We're very, very cultural. We're very, very religious. There are those things which, family. So why are we painting those things? And nobody wants an abstract child. Don't shift the child's mouth here. Yeah. I want my child as it was. So I think abstraction doesn't work in our context.
Yes. Thank you very much, Abatopio. We're going to take a break. Stella Tal, we're coming back to you. This has been a very interesting. These two gentlemen have really rich content that we need to take over. Stella, their creative industry is going to be back after this break, and Stella Tal will dive in to give us that perspective all the way from a visual artist as well as fashion designer, and we want to be able to look into the publishing of that work and where does it go, how do we get it out, and then we will close the show with the collaborations and networking. Where can we find it? We want to hear from you. Send us your kisses and disses, your comments if any, and we'll definitely be able to read it on the show and respond to you. We'll be right back after the break. This is the Creative Industry Talk.
When you start a project, definitely, if it's a good idea, it has gone through the development process, then you start what we call in fundraising as an institution or even an individual who has a creative project. There is what they call fundraising, and that is if it's a public good, it's a common activity. If it's a business, that's a different thing. So when you're doing a creative business project, you're not asking for funding, you're asking for investment. People just get turned off by just being asked. You just come and say, "Why do you give me money?" I'm like, "Who are you?
Why should I give you?
Why should I?
And what is it?
How do I get them to know that I exist?" You're not asking yet, but you're just trying to check to test the waters and see how whether it's possible. I've met Faisal. I know Eddie. I can. We've had a conversation. I trust what he's going to do. So that trust is built within that asking. Honestly, the money is there. There's a lot of money, and those who know how to find it, they always find it. But then you find others saying, "Oh, that one is taking our money." Yet you didn't make an effort to find it. We have sleepless nights. I wake up at 2 a.m. to write applications, proposals. I try to balance my office daytime and my fundraising time and all the other things. So you really have to make an effort. The US has just put out a call. The State Department has just put out a call for support for a collaborative grant between the US and Uganda. It's for institutions, it's for individuals, for practitioners that are interested in exchanging ideas and knowledge between US and Uganda specifically. And it's quite between $5,000 to $50,000. So it's available. I talked about earlier about the SCP fund, which was introduced already here in Uganda before COVID, I think. And finally, we got British Council and HEVA managing this fund for East Africa. So if the call is almost out, I think they'll put it out in May or June. And when that call comes out, you can apply for like 180,000 euros for 3 years, that you can do whatever you want to do. It's both institutional and for individual projects.
Please share it far and wide. We are live on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. And this information will always remain there. You can watch the show anytime. You can share it far and wide. And Faisal will be back here next week. We'll be talking about investment into the creative industry and how we can go about it and who needs what, where, when, how. We'll be talking about it next week. Until next week, Edio Killer, Faisal Chiwewa, the founder and the CEO of Volleyball Foundation, we're signing out on the Creative Talk. Welcome back to the program. My name is Edio Killer, Faisal Chiwewa, Abatopio, Stella Tal in France. We want to run straight to Stella. Stella Tal, You've had the submission from Albert Opio and of course from Pfizer Chiwewe. These gentlemen have rich information that if we take advantage of them and we really take the learning from them, we can really do great stuff. Stella, over to you. We want to hear from you, Stella. Publishing of your work as well as the network and identifying demands and creative products services in the visual art space, as well as designing clothes that fit the time. Are we taking advantage of it? Are there some other ways that we can use to, how do we publish this work?
I think like everyone has said, like Opio said, you cannot be like a minister outside your place. You cannot be an MP. You cannot be staying in and then you want to be an MP in Tibet. It doesn't work like that. You have to first be an MP in your local place, work hard, satisfy the demands of the people, make people appreciate you and what you can offer. Then from there, look for collaborations from other places. Go to Masaka, talk to the mayor of Masaka and say, okay, if we came together and then do this between your parts, your place and my place, maybe both are going to benefit and there are going to be opportunities for all the comes to the creative industry. We can't long for the outside market when we failed to satisfy, we failed to cater for the local demand. Let's start with the local demand. I don't know about that. For me, I see a lot of opportunities. Yes, you say there is a lot of money, they pay you an hour, but then remember that money is to be taxed. By the time you finish, at the end of the month, at the end of the contract, 30% of your money is into taxes. If you're looking at supplying your products to the outside market, if you're a fashion designer, are you looking at wholesaling? Are you looking at a retail sale? If you're looking for wholesaling, it comes with a package of terms and conditions. There's logistics. How are you going to get those products? Taxes you're going to pay, payment conditions. Because if you're doing wholesale to the Western world, which means you're going to supply like department stores. Department stores do not pay you upfront. And remember, you have all the shipping costs to cater for. Back home, you have the production costs. All that needs when you're well established and exactly your product has market. Because there is no point of view in a big project and at the end of the day you get nothing. Back home, like we said, there is a lot that we can do. Yes, right now, and like I mentioned before, we can tap into those opportunities for the frontline workers. There's so many, and we can work maybe with the private hospitals or with the government and see how the fashion designers can be part of this crisis. How can they help out? Of course, there are budgets for that. You can't say that there is yet for, preparedness, whatever. There is money for that. There is money to make masks. There is money to make those uniforms. You cannot give a musician money or those people who organize events because the event didn't take place. And then you fail to get money to save lives of the people who are trying to save other people. Doctors are dying. They are so vulnerable to the situation, but then they are there to save lives. Why can't we be part of that? And we can also tap into the opportunities of the people who are still working, like the media, then also the banks are still open. Then we have, of course, the politicians, the MPs have to sit every day. Why can't we use those opportunities? I tell my MP, please, I'm doing badly. Can I make for you clothes? Okay, from your 25 million, give me at least 1 million a month and I dress you up. That is possible as well. Then we look at the people who maybe like used to be like slayers. Every day they are buying clothes. They have heaps and heaps of clothes. Can't you work with those people and revamp those clothes to make them user-friendly right now? I can turn an evening dress into a very nice top someone can put on like for a meeting online, or something that you can wear at home, or you can donate, because there are so many people who have nothing completely. So there is a lot we can do. Let's not look at the outside market right now, because like I said, even the internet is going, and let's work with what we have right now. And once people get to know about us, once we are successful back home, you're not going to look for market. The market is going to look for you. Just be good at what you're doing, produce your best, represent yourself, your brand, best way, and the market is going to look for you. Every time you look for the market, you're putting your brand at a lower level. But every time people look for you, which means your product is, and everyone is longing for it, and you can price for your brand.
Thank you so much, Stella. You've heard from Stella saying that she can turn these people who have been slayers, who have many clothes, ex-slayers. Oh, because COVID-19 has hit them, they've become ex.
I don't know.
Yes, that you can turn that to clothes that we can wear for something. I found that very interesting as a concept for somebody who has too many clothes, if they would think outside the box and say, you know what, I can put these clothes out and get a tailor, a designer to try and think through these things and put it out. Yes.
And that could be a TikTok show.
Yes.
TikTok. What is TikTok?
TikTok. Oh, sign up, okay.
I'm not on social media, so I don't know.
So TikTok is it's a social media platform that allows you to send messages or record a video. It's a video thing.
Okay.
So for example, you can say, my name is Faisal, I'm an artist, a designer, I'm going to draw for you this cup, and you see the way this cup look like. I'm going to draw a cup based out of banana fiber.
Oh, I'm going to dance.
But also what I find fascinating with Stella's input here is, like, some of these essential workers that we ignore. I think the mentality is that somehow we tend to think like, those things are given to government people.
Yes.
If you're not connected, you can't get. But they are not only looking at hospitals. You're not only dressing people in Mulago or Kitalia, or is it Kitalia? What is it?
In prison, yes, you're right.
No, but I think it's important that we can also look at home. We look at our villages. There are clinics and small facilitation that we can serve in, and I really like that idea. So people should tap into that. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, gentlemen and lady, our time is fast spent. We need to touch this part of the show as we close. One, network and collaboration with the creative businesses and sectors. They have been a challenge. Of course, we're talking about the creative people are very pivotal in our society today and our day-to-day existence. One, to come up with a potato that needs to be sold and even to be exported, you need a creative person to think through the process of how we can take this thing to the market. Opio here is a typical example. You here, Faiz, is a typical example. I might be a very good musician and good at what I do, but I don't know how to get this music out. But because Faisal has an understanding of how we can get this together without changing the meaning of it, it will put me out there. That is not quite understood by our system and our society today. They look at you and say, that's just mad. He's always drawing many things. He don't understand where his thing is going. So you find that many of our products here, we have too many good products, but don't see the light of day and don't go forward. How do we find collaborations and also collaboration in business and also work with business sector? I like what Opio has said. Hotels are too many here, but you don't find a photo of Okila in Sheraton saying this is the guy who likes gin.
But you have your Facebook page. What's the problem?
That's an example. You don't find a picture of somebody says that drawn the Kampala Road. I think there's some guys who came up with this. You remember, these ladies who started this shop at around Acacia Mall in Kampala. It says the streets of Kampala, drawing Matoke on the t-shirt and putting the potholes.
Banana boat.
Banana boat, yes. The things will have. I found that very interesting. It's actually called, it started with Naida
Yeah.
Naida and the sister.
What
I
was
mean, I
that?
found that very
What's
interesting.
definition?
Definition. Definition came up with something that was very interesting, which Opio was saying that, my friend, was easy for Opio as a creative director, a creative person, to actually put his work out and his thoughts out. How do we find collaboration, gentlemen, as we wind up the show quickly? And how do we get these businesses to start to say, you know what, I need a picture like this in my office?
I think we've talked about these collaboration issues. That there are so many things that, despite having the content and the concept and the work done, but the process of also collaborating with people, you really have to be invested in that, building, cultivating that relationship, and coming up with a plan to make sure that you implement the collaboration. And for us from the performing arts, it takes time. It takes time to identify people you like or that have the same mind, and coming up with the work that you want to do. And then once you started the process, there's also the stewardship of it. How do you keep this relationship going? How do you keep these partnerships going? So most of the time it's really about, minds alike, and also looking out for opportunities in the music, in the advertising, in fashion. I think Stella has been collaborating all her life, with so many different people. I'm sure Opio in design you collaborate with Scanad, can collaborate with so and so to figure out something. So the opportunity, like in every other aspect or subsector, you have to look out for people that you want to work with, and that's I think it's the best way to.
Okay. How about Opio?
The good thing in advertising is that you must collaborate, because I'll do the design, but then if I need a picture, someone has to take a picture, someone has to be a model for that person to take the picture, someone is doing the lighting, someone is doing the makeup, someone is doing you cannot work without collaboration. I don't print, so probably someone on Nassau has to print it.
No graphic
systems, or somebody has to deliver whatever has been printed to wherever it needs to be consumed. Basically, there's a spectrum of there's a little thing I do. For example, if I design a logo, let's say I design a logo, I have set a chain reaction of collaboration that may not be with me, but because of a client. So my logo will go into stationery, someone has to print stationery, they make money. So the logo goes online, a digital online specialist is going to go online. Someone is going to go, so basically just by doing a logo, I have created avenues for a lot of creative people to work. And that's where agencies do it best, because it's all controlled in one space, and then they call everybody else. The other collaborations are probably not seen, because I just hand over the logo and walk away. And then those things happen in the background. But just, you'll see your logo somewhere, like someone printed it, someone did this, someone did this. If it's on a bike, it's on someone's bike, so somebody sprayed the bike, so everybody kind of makes money. And creative space is very good, everybody shares.
But how do we get the Stanbic banks of this world, the Barclays banks of this world?
Those are too big.
Now to start.
Those are too big, because they sign 1 year, 2 year, 3 year contracts.
But to buy your work, or to collaborate with you in the process of making this work,
you need to look at their CSR.
Exactly.
Their CSR objectives. When you look at the CSR objectives of all these companies, they'll mention exactly where they want to be. I want to be in health. I want to be in sports. I want to be in the creative arts. So if you find somebody, and arts are not there in their CSR, you can preach from morning to evening. But if it is not in their space, they're not going to put even 1,000 shillings in there. You go to the usual suspects, like say Coca-Cola, beer, Pepsi, because they need young people to consume their product, so they're open to opportunities where young people congregate, and then they can support that space. But also for them, they look at it from, how do I make the money back? If I give you 50 million shillings, or I sponsor this activity, which is 50 million shillings, how do I make money? So you'll find that if Coca-Cola sponsors, only Coca-Cola products will be sold at that event, because they have to make the money back. If it's a Chivulu, and all the artists are there, so they're paid for the stage, they're the only ones who are going to brand, they're the only products, their beers are the only ones that will be sold.
One thing I found out that if you're sponsored by a beverage company, they're not entitled to sell their product. Their product is supposed to be sold, but they are not the ones entitled to sell. Yes. They are not. No, they can be exclusive because they are sponsoring, but they are not entitled to sell their product. So you have to sell their product. It has to be your money. And I found it very late, so I was like, No more.
But I think it's about when you learn. Like now he learned, and now he's more empowered in his negotiations.
Yes.
But most young people or most people new in the industry just want to be. They just want the function to succeed. They just want the show to succeed. They're willing to give up all sorts of things.
Like the film guy I told you at the beginning.
Exactly.
You know, I'm telling you, and they make it so difficult for you. I had an event with, I'm not mentioning the brand, and I told them I'm selling my drinks because you in your CSR you're not entitled to sell your drinks and take the money. I need that money also, even if you sponsored me. And you know they made it so difficult that I don't get those drinks. They're like, we need these. I'm like, come on, guys. You know.
But when you mentioned this Prime, Palmagic Prime,
Palmagic.
it may not be good now.
Yes.
But I'm seeing all the positives of it because all our TV stations are not showing local content.
Buying local content.
They're not buying local content.
Investing.
And they're making it difficult for
In fact, you take your idea there and they look at it like this and say, come back next week. No, come back next week. You find it, they're already doing your...
what I like about Palmagic and Palmagic Prime is probably going to change the space a little bit. So all creative, everyone involved in film and video is going to go to Palmagic. First, if I'm developing anything, I'm going to think of the guy who is going to give me some money. It may not pay all my expenses, but it helps me live another day, which most people are struggling for.
Wow. Stella Tal, your final word, and we close the show today. Stella, what is your final word? Take away from you.
For me, I would just encourage my fellow designers to take advantage of our moving billboards, like our musicians, because musicians, much as we're in the lockdown, they're doing their recording, they're doing the live shows, like virtual shows. They need to look good. They need clothes all the time. We have people like Q, Eddie, you need to look good. And I don't think you can afford clothes right now all the time. So if you got a designer to dress you up like every day, and of course your clientele, when people see you dressed in maybe my outfit, they're going to say, oh, that's nice. At least maybe in a week or in a day, I may get like one client who appreciates what I've done for you. And then a musician, because remember, like when a musician puts on your outfit, and they do a performance, which performance is going to stay on YouTube forever. Your market is going to stay there. Every time someone is going to watch that video or that performance, maybe it can't even take like 10 years, but someone will be like, oh, I want that dress. Where did you get it from? So let's take advantage of what is available right now. Let's not sleep. And also, it's time for us to get more knowledge about our industry, because we thought we didn't have time to sit down or read, get more information about our industry. There is a lot that has changed. And the way you can get to know about that is to keep relevant, like to keep on the internet and see what other people are doing. Copy from the advanced world. What is going on? What can I copy? What can I use to change the industry back home? Don't sit and wait for the lockdown to finish and then you wake up. Now the roads are open. Now let me start. It is now that you have to do all this.
Well, thank you so much, everybody, for being part of the show. Faizo, your parting shot, and Mr. Pio, I'm told that now I need to find somebody to design a shirt for me. Maybe Albert Pio can start by designing. Faizo sponsors it or do the abstract on it and then draw Killer's head. So we are good to go. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity, and I think people really need to look at not to be scared, because many people here fear to share, to collaborate, because they think someone is going to take their idea or they are going to be. Someone has to take a bullet for certain areas to move, and I think if you're bold enough and if you want to move somewhere, I think it's always good to look out and see what others are doing and try to engage with them, seek advice, and then you will be able to move forward.
Wow. But I need a safari, some clothes for safari. What do I do?
No, me, I'm learning clothes. You talk to Stella. What's the point of me trying to learn clothes when Stella is there?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of learning online. I want to learn how to create furniture from concrete. I want to learn how to make furniture from wood. I mean, there's so many mediums of exchange out there where a creative can learn, and it's all for free. Even if it's not for free, $20, $15, $19. I mean, it is cheap compared to since I now can't go and buy pizza at 30K, I can get the 30K and put it into online learning and learn different other art forms, because now I need to diversify myself, because the art is there, but just the media that I can apply the art is what I need to learn. So, and the things are free, and many of them are free, but then even those that are not free are at a small fee, which I think many of our creative people can pay to learn.
Wow. Well, Creative Industry Talk has come to an end today. We want to say thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming, and the lady in France. And to all of you guys who have been watching the show, we say thank you. Amon Mukisa, thank you very much for your comment. We say thank you very much, gentlemen. Doing great for the show. We want to appreciate you. And of course, Frank Chukume, all the way in Lira. You said you're watching the show. We'll say thank you very much. Kopango, Chamringo, you know, find Malakwang, eat everything and be strong enough as a creative mind all the way in Lira. And to everybody else all across the world, thank you very much. Professor Penina Achayo, Assistant Professor for Design Communication or Communication Design at Washington University. Thank you very much. We are definitely going to be able to get in touch with Professor Penina Achayo. She wants to discuss, you know, design Ugandan identity as a designed, as a, you know, France has identity, you know, Japan has identity. What is the identity of Uganda? Design identity for
the
Uganda.
good thing, I'm in a WhatsApp group,
Yes.
and this conversation is actually happening as well.
Yeah.
There are so many diaspora people
Yes.
who want to be involved in the artistic space, and the same questions when you asked that why aren't there Ugandan, why isn't there Ugandan art in the embassies?
Yeah.
Why isn't it there? Why? And everybody's like, but why? And then look at each other, but why?
The show is closed. Until next week, guys. And stay creative and stay creating your stuff.